everyone. Maybe you caught me like yelling at my dog. Hi, it's Helene from Virtual Veg Fest Live, and we're pretty excited today because we've got Nelson Campbell. So, okay, my dogs are going to go ballistic right when I start, of course. So, first of all, let's say thank you to Sun Warrior again for sponsoring our lives. And you can get a 25% discount if you use the code VirtualVegFest in all caps. And that link is on our social media. You can easily find it. It's all over every single page that we have with the Sun Warrior logo. So, thanks to them. And, of course, our partner is Plant-Based Network. And we've got contests. Go like our Virtual Veg Fest page, Facebook, Instagram, and you will be entered into, dog, at least it's not with Nelson on, you will be entered to win a prize pack from Hodo Foods and Crafters Organic and Follow Your Heart. And if you can look back on our YouTube, you'll see a video with Erin that shows you just what you could win too. So that's pretty cool. So let's talk about Nelson. I met Nelson when we organized, I attended a PlantPure Nation movie screening, and I had already seen the movie, and I decided that we were going to bring it to the 2015 Triangle Veg Fest and show it after the festival. And so we went to dinner, Kim, Nelson, and I think Maitrey was with us too. And we went to dinner, and I got to have dinner with Nelson Campbell. So how many of you can say that? And of course, he's part of the Campbell family, which is Dr. T. Colin Campbell, and his sister, and his brothers. And there Kim Campbell, the PlantPure Nation. There's just so much goodness in this family that I absolutely adore them. So I want to bring Nelson on so that he can share more about him and everything that's going on. Hey, Nelson.
Hey, Helene. Thank you for that nice introduction.
Well, I adore your family. I really do. I've introduced your dad numerous times. I've sat in New Jersey with him. He showed me family photos when you all got together with all the grandkids. So yeah. I'm very fortunate to have that, to have know a little bit more about you. Let me just clap. It tends to work to get them to stop. So, Nelson, if you can share more about you and who you are, in case somebody doesn't know.
Well, I guess I won't talk about my entire career. I'll pick it up maybe back just prior to 2010. I had a vision that I had been working on for a few years, and I decided to leave the last company that I had started to begin pursuing that. And it was a vision for a grassroots movement strategy to help promote the plant-based nutrition message, and not just the health benefits, but the environmental and ethical benefits deeper into the mainstream. So I had this crazy idea, and I started working on it. And then the opportunity came along for me to make a film. And so it was a version. But for about 2 years, I worked on a film, which you mentioned, PlantPure Nation, and then spent part of a year releasing and marketing the film. And then got back to this strategy that I had developed a few years ago and kind of used the platform that the film created to help launch that strategy. And so since 2016, I've been working on that strategy, and it involves two organizations, PlantPure, which is a business, and PlantPure Communities, which is a nonprofit. In PlantPure, we have focused on food and education and a new social action web platform that we're getting ready to launch. And then in the nonprofit, we have been supporting a network of local support and advocacy groups that we call pods. At the end of PlantPure Nation, we had a call to action for people to form these local support groups. And people answered that. And today we have about 250,000 people or so involved in these groups. And so PlantPure Communities provides support to that pod network. And now what we're getting ready to do is to kind of put it all together in the way that I had originally envisioned to launch a broad-based strategy, which includes food and education and and these local activist groups and this social networking platform that we're getting ready to launch at opentribe.com. And this is a platform that will make available to local groups project ideas, strategies, resources, basic networking and event functionality, and access to a media feed. We're going to be producing some interesting media and streaming it through the platform to highlight best practices and to motivate people and inspire people to do things. And then we also have some educational programming as well that people can access on the site. So we're getting ready to roll that out, and much of what we've done is embedded in that platform. And it's all intended to help support local groups who are engaging in initiatives to share the plant-based message in their local community.
That's incredible. Well, I'm never not surprised that there's something going on with, PlantPure and with the Campbells. I mean, why this shouldn't surprise anybody. So the platform, right? What's it going to be called? Can you announce that?
Yes, it's at opentribe.com. And we're actually in the process now of loading in some additional content and checking links and different things. So it's not quite ready, but I think maybe by the end of the day tomorrow, we'll have it ready to begin promoting. And we'll be adding to it as we go along. So what we have there, initially is just to get the ball rolling. So we've got a few projects that are loaded in with strategies and resources. But very quickly over the course of time, we'll be adding more projects. And this is a platform that right now is focused on plant-based nutrition, but it's actually a platform that could be used for any kind of local activist purpose. So, if someone wanted to launch a campaign to address homelessness, they would be able to do that and load in projects and resources. The idea is to create ideas and resources that could be made available at the local level. I'm a big believer in grassroots empowerment, empowering our communities to fix problems.
That's awesome. I just put opentribe.com underneath you on the screen so people can know, to understand that that's someplace that you can go to for this brand new platform that sounds going to be like all inclusive of pretty much anything plant-based.
Yes, and as I said, it's we're just seeding it with some initial content and information, but it will be rapidly expanding as we once we launch.
That's really cool. I'm so excited to know about this. And that's part of the reason I love doing this. And just so you know, everyone who's watching, that you can ask questions or have comments, please write them in the little comment section, and we'll definitely address them. And I'll let Nelson know what you say, because he can't see that part, but I'll read them and I'll put them on the screen. So please do that if you want to interact with us. Okay, so PlantPure Nation, right? Right, PlantPure Nation. I was like, there's too many plant-based PlantPure names. PlantPure Nation, the movie, right? Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, for people who haven't seen it, where can they see it?
Yeah, so it's available today on Amazon Prime, and it's also on YouTube and I think a few other platforms for a fee. Most people are Amazon Prime members, so that's a good place to get it. But yeah, we made the film in 2013, 14, and I guess we released it in 2015. But it's a story-driven documentary. So we it was an unusual kind of a documentary. Many documentaries kind of follow a similar format. You interview a lot of experts and you kind of narrate a little story, and you throw in a lot of B-roll and music, and you create a documentary. Obviously, we did that too, but we also had to create a real story, and it was a story that started in Kentucky and then came through, since you're from the area, the town Mebane, which is a town west of Durham. And then we went back to Kentucky and we engineered a showdown in the state legislature. So it's a story that helps to explain to people how this health message has been suppressed for so many years. Of course, now finally it's getting out, and people are becoming aware of it. But for decades, this health message was suppressed, and so this film kind of explains through story how that happened. Exactly. And the reason that I decided to do this, because as I mentioned initially, I started out with this strategy, this grassroots community-based strategy, and started working on certain elements of it. And then I decided to take some time off to work on this film because I thought that it would create a platform for us to stand on to do what I was doing. And it did serve that purpose. The film was really great in creating a platform for us.
Oh, definitely. I mean, a platform of cookbooks that Kim is involved with, and the pods, and is the restaurant still open?
You're referring to the one in Philadelphia. So so we did a little experiment up there. I have a friend there who had an opportunity to start a restaurant in downtown Philadelphia, and he wanted to test a kind of a PlantPure menu. So we worked with him and created a menu, and actually it did really, really well. But then it was discontinued after a certain point because of business issues relating to him and the partners that he had up there. It wasn't actually a PlantPure location. It was a separate entity, but we worked with them to test out a menu, and we haven't done anything with that concept since. We just got busy with a lot of other stuff.
Right, that's really cool that it went well, right? Because what brought that to mind is Elizabeth is watching. You know, Elizabeth. She said, "Love the film and the cookbook recipes." So, hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for watching. So, and then of course, the cookbooks. Let's throw some love at Kim.
Kim's been a big part of this journey, going all the way back to the original jumpstarts that we showed in the film PlantPure Nation. She was a part of that and helping to create the menu plan for that. Kim actually wanted to go to culinary school out of high school. Her father encouraged her to take a different track. I think sometimes she wished that she had done that, but nevertheless, she's loves all things culinary, and she's been cooking this way now for over 30 years, and she's just rabid in her research of plant-based cuisines, and so she's learned a lot, and she's been instrumental in helping to create the products at PlantPure that we have, and she has done 2 cookbooks. She's working on a 3rd now. I just saw the recipes that are going into the 3rd cookbook, and I think this is going to be they're going to be better even than the first 2. I salivate just looking at them. And then she has a show as well, PlantPure Kitchen Live, every Thursday at 6:30. It's a cook-along. So people, if they subscribe, they get the grocery list and recipe the week before. They can get all their ingredients, and they can prepare everything. And then when the show starts, they can cook along with Kim, and they can ask questions. And I'm there, so I read the questions to her. And we actually do it Thursday, so tonight. She has a show at 6:30 if people want to check that out. It's PlantPure Kitchen Live, and you can see it on our website, plantpure.com.
That's awesome. I have caught some of that, which is cool because I know that you're involved. You're kind of like in the peripheral in the background. So
yeah.
And Elizabeth just said, "What? A 3rd cookbook?" I mean, you get to test the recipes, right?
I do, and she's always doing that. She's always coming up with new ideas, and she's asking me to taste things. And 99 out of 100 times they're home runs, so it's not a bad job to have.
Oh, it's a great job to live with someone that cooks, let alone, I mean, there's cooking and then there's like whole food, plant-based cooking, because I'm going to let you say what that is, because I know what it is, but there might be people watching that don't know what that means.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interest in plant-based foods these days, and some companies that have been very, very successful, and we've heard of them, Beyond Meat and Impossible Burger and these different things. A lot of what you see out there, though, it may be plant-based, but it's not always whole food plant-based. Whole food plant-based is utilizing primarily whole foods and creating delicious dishes, but using whole foods. So not using oil, not using highly processed ingredients. And now you'll hear different takes on this idea. There are some sort of more extreme versions of this notion. Some folks have no salt and no sugar. Maybe they eliminate other things like nuts and seeds. We don't advocate that. And in fact, my father and I had an interesting session on this, which you can see on opentribe.com, where I interviewed him about his views on this topic, and the idea of reductionism, and even the presence of that idea in our own plant-based community. As he argued there, a little sweetener, a little salt or sugar, it's really incidental. It's not gonna hurt you, and it is good to eliminate oil, because you don't need oil to cook, and a lot of people, once they go down that path, it's hard to stop. Nuts and seeds, as my dad argued in that session, nuts and seeds contain nutrients that are essential to our health, and it's not a good idea to eliminate those from your diet. Of course, you don't want to overdo it. If you're walking around and you're out in nature in the woods, you're not going to come across a bag of shelled nuts. So they're not meant to be eaten that way. But a little bit of nuts and seeds in moderation, those whole fats are essential to your diet. So we tend to, we're whole food plant-based, but we're a little more relaxed about it, recognizing that it's really the plants that are creating the health. And that's what the main focus should be, whole plants, and we need to prepare food that people can enjoy, because we'll never build a plant-based world if we don't give people food that gives them joy.
It's the gateway drug, is what I call it. Producing events, like food is what gets people in the door, and it's what'll get them to going, hey, this isn't so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I can eat this. Like, and like, you don't even have to, like, if someone could cook for me, well, you took care of that problem.
Yeah.
Right? With the PlantPure meals that you can get at the store now. You don't even have to have them shipped.
Yeah, so we are getting our frozen entrees into supermarkets now. So that's pretty exciting. We do have a product line that I'll mention here briefly that I'm really excited about, that we'll be launching in about a month. It's a line of meal starter products, and we've been working on these for 2 years. So there's a lot of work that went into this. But it's a line of products where all you have to do is add a wet ingredient and then maybe some fresh or frozen produce, and you can very quickly prepare a meal. And it's different than the frozen because it does have the fresh produce. And so it's really, for all intents and purposes, it's a fresh home-cooked meal. But it's very affordable and easy to do. And the reason that we developed this particular product line is because we're trying to figure out how we could create foods that we could take into underserved communities at affordable prices. And this was the format that we settled on to best do that. And what we're going to do is we're going to sell these through our website, and in other channels. But when we sell into underserved communities, when we sell to people who are insured through Medicaid or receiving supplemental food assistance, we're going to waive 100% of our profit margin. And what we're doing now is we're thinking through strategies that we could utilize to reach those folks in these communities. And we actually have a project up on Open Tribe that's focused on this idea of getting this health message and these affordable foods into these underserved communities. Again, waiving 100% of our profit margin. So with these products, those folks who get them at a discounted price will be able to prepare a meal, for, including all of the add-ins and everything, for less than $2. And so I'm excited about that, because that issue is really important to me. We can't build a plant-based world if we don't, meet the needs of everyone. It's not enough for us to promote this message to people who shop at Whole Foods. That's not, we're not reaching very many people when we do that.
That's true. Can you give me an idea of what, flavor base, what it's going to be like?
Yeah, so we have, we have 10 different entree products. We have 2 dressings and then a couple of sides. But all kinds of things. We have an Alfredo Primavera dish. It's creamy, and you have it with pasta, and then you can throw in your fresh or frozen veggies, and you've got this really delicious comfort food, kind of home cooked type meal. Again, no oil. It's whole food, plant-based. We have Creole and bean dish and split pea soup and things like this. It's not backpacking food, right. So it's not like dehydrated backpacking food, but it's basically we take the seasonings and also other components, like maybe if it has lentils or certain starch components, things that we can source in dried form, those go in the pack. But the vegetables, the larger vegetables that you add to it, that's what you get, hopefully fresh, but you can also use frozen, and you add that to it with the wet ingredient to prepare your meal.
It sounds really easy and healthy.
It is. It's easy and healthy, and you could live on these products every day. And we're going to be, once we launch, we're going to be continually improving the line based on customer feedback, and we'll be adding more products. So we'll be extending the line. We want to have a really robust selection so that people could literally live off of these products. And they're easy to ship too, because you don't need to ship them refrigerated.
Right.
So the shipping costs are much lower, and we can bypass the distributors and retail channels and just provide them directly to consumers. I kind of like that idea too.
Oh, that's awesome. And Elizabeth has made a few comments. Just so she's a third cookbook, which is awesome. And she's having one of your meals for dinner tonight. And she loved the kitchen starter from the jumpstart, and she can't wait for these to come out that you were referring to. So that's that's really neat. And to get into the underserved or the neighborhoods that don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, that's incredibly important. It is something that I would love to be involved with, just to get food into the hands of people that need it the most, that have a McDonald's but don't have a banana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously there are a lot of factors there at play, and it's a big and complex issue. So what we'll do is we'll look for opportunities to kind of pilot some strategies and try to figure out, what's the best way to do this, and then we'll just kind of go from there. I think our nonprofit PlantPure Communities will be engaged in this effort as well. This is a philanthropic initiative, so it's something that our nonprofit can do along with some work we're doing in the food climate arena as well.
Yes, and churches.
Churches. Mm-hmm.
Churches, and you already know that because you went to churches with PlantPure Nation to work with them to check their blood levels and get them on a jumpstart program so that they can improve their health. And you gave them the food out of Mebane.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. At that time when we did the film, we had a kitchen. And we were producing the food fresh. We hadn't developed any products that we were selling yet. So at that time, we were just trying to, test the idea of a jumpstart and deliver some jumpstarts locally. So we used a local kitchen.
Yeah, that was really cool because the people, you tested everyone's blood work too. So they got to see after eating a whole foods plant-based diet for a few weeks, it made a difference. You might not believe that a few weeks will make a difference. A few weeks makes a huge difference on your body.
Yeah, when we did the very first jumps, they were actually, at that time, they were 2-week programs. We've eventually scaled it back to 10 days. We discovered that 10 days is enough time. But we did a few preliminary jump starts before the film. We were just curious to see what would happen. At that time, no one was doing anything like that. There were no, 10-day food-supported immersions anywhere. And so I remember we did our first one in Wake Forest, and then we did a couple in Hillsborough, all before we did our film. But I remember doing the first few jump starts and not really knowing what kind of results we were going to get. And I remember telling my dad, and even my father was floored by the numbers that we got over such a short period of time. We saw cholesterol drops of 20 to 25% on average in those initial jump starts. And we had people with type 2 diabetes who were healing during that time, and people with arthritis that went away, and people were sleeping better, and all kinds of stories. The body heals very quickly if you give it what it needs.
Yeah, that's something that's amazing to me is how easy it is to make your body bigger and unhealthy. It happens like overnight. It's never a figure. It's like all of a sudden, where did this weight come from? How did this happen? Because you don't see it as it's happening. If you get on a scale, you recognize that it's happening, but you almost feel like it's this steamroll, snowball thing that you just can't stop. But then to take it off, obviously takes a lot more time, energy, effort. But it's amazing how the body can go from bigger, smaller, bigger, and feel better and feel healthier just by what you choose to fuel it with and the actions that you take with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's food is definitely the most powerful medicine, and that's because the body has a powerful self-correcting mechanism. If we just let it do what it's inherently kind of designed to do, and just leave it alone and give it what it needs. It's pretty simple, but our modern healthcare system it doesn't really understand that idea. So.
Right, because you've gone into hospitals. I know in Florida, you've gone into hospitals to try to get to have them partner up and say, let's treat diabetes and heart disease and strokes and cholesterol issues. Let's treat your patients with a plant-based diet and let's heal them like it's lifestyle medicine, right? So let's heal them this way instead of throwing drugs and, of course, the most extreme thing, cracking open their chest and doing a bypass on their heart.
Yeah, I've had experience now over the years of going into several systems, including some large systems and well-known systems. And, it's always ended the same way. So finally, I kind of gave up with that approach. What I found is that there are physicians in some of these systems who are interested in this idea. A lot of physicians are really motivated for the right reasons, and they want to heal people, and they learn about this, and they get excited. And so I've had physicians who've invited me into systems, and we get all this interest and excitement, but then the business people above kill it off. And there's a reason for that, Helene, when you think about it. When you really think about the economics of our healthcare system, these large health systems have a tremendous amount of clinical infrastructure. You know, they have hospitals and all kinds of expensive equipment and layers and layers of bureaucracy. And so they have all of this expense that they have to cover. So from a business standpoint, they're not interested in improving in a really meaningful way the efficiency of healthcare, which really can only be done by helping people change what they eat. You know, that's what really will lower the cost of care. Because if they start to play that game, and those costs start coming down, the insurance reimbursement rates over time will follow. And they can't afford to get into a position where they're not bringing in enough revenue to cover that clinical infrastructure that they are carrying. And so I've often felt that the real way to reform the system is to work with independent physicians who aren't part of large health systems, to create a financial model for physicians who are working independent of these systems. You know, it used to be that we had a lot more doctors who were working independently. But what's happened over the past few years is large health systems have been gobbling up independent physician practices left and right. And they're gaining monopoly positions in the markets that they serve. The independent physician is going extinct. And I think we need to put the physician back at the forefront of healthcare in this country, the independent physician. Because independent physicians, they don't carry that clinical infrastructure, okay? And the real way to transform healthcare would be to help support independent physicians coming together in their own associations. They're called Independent Physician Associations, or IPAs. And then helping those organizations of physicians negotiate contracts with insurance companies where they get paid a lump sum to provide care for their defined patient base. These are called global risk contracts, fixed payment contracts. There are different terms for this. But basically, they can come together and negotiate these arrangements with insurance companies, get paid a lump sum at the beginning of the year, and then if they can lower the cost of care and save a lot of money by taking a food as medicine approach, and they can drive the cost of care down, the money that they save, they can keep. And they can pay that out to their member physicians as bonuses. There is a model. There is a model. And what's interesting is we actually have an opportunity right now to prove that out with an IPA in Florida. So we are working with an IPA in Florida, and the head of the IPA is also underwriting a documentary film. So we're filming it as we go.
Okay.
And, so we're actually going to be demonstrating this model and capturing it on film over the next few months. But I think that's what we have to do, is we have to empower those independent physicians. If we can create a business model for those independent, you will see physicians all over the place going back into independent practice.
Yeah, that's incredibly important, because what people don't realize is that, well, I think more people realize now, is that our medicine in this country is about keeping you sick, because that makes them money, which is exactly what you just described. Well, we can't make these people healthy. How do we pay for this machine? How do we pay for the MRI? How do we pay for the CAT scan? How do we pay for the... We need people to get heart transplants. Not transplants. We need to get people open up and crack open their chest and fix their hearts.
Well, see, this is what large health systems are doing and will continue to do. And they're the ones who are really influencing those reimbursement rates from that insurance companies provide. And so those are set really high because the cost of care is so high and it's dominated by these large systems. If you have a group of independent physicians flying in under the radar and they've come together and they're getting these fixed payment contracts from insurers that reflect those high reimbursement rates, and they don't have all that clinical infrastructure to carry, and they're able to drive the cost of care down by taking a food as medicine approach, those physicians can do very well financially. And now they have a business model. And that's why a lot of independent physicians have gone out of business, because they're just getting crushed by the paperwork and the liabilities and having to maintain a big staff to deal with all the paperwork. And they really don't have a business model. So, but there is one out there. It's based on food as medicine.
That's fantastic. I'm really glad that you're involved, and of course, there's a movie documentary surrounding it. Why wouldn't there be with you involved? So that'll be great to be able to see that come to fruition, and both parts, the documentary and the actual, way that independent physicians can run their businesses, food as medicine, and help people heal without a prescription.
Yeah.
Right? And you really can, believe it or not, heal your body with food. And of course I want to transition that, because I want to touch on it, is that we don't just heal our bodies with the food that we eat. We heal the planet and the climate with that too. So I'd love for you to touch on that as well, because we were talking before we went live how I want climate and the environment to become juicy to people. And I've said that on here before. We need to care about this planet and the environment, because food is great and you can be healthy, blah, blah, blah. But if you have no planet to live on to get that food from, then it's all for naught.
Yeah, I agree, Helene. Actually, I think we have similar passions around this. I'm as interested, and sometimes I feel like even more interested in the environmental aspects of this idea than just about anything else. I also think that we need to consider the ethical arguments for this too. We'll never fix what really ails us until we build a compassionate culture, and that includes compassion toward people and animals and nature in general. And but getting back to the environment and climate, we are doing some interesting work there that I'm really excited about through our nonprofit PlantPure Communities. We've provided some funding to a world-leading climate scientist who is an expert in the connection of land use to climate change. And so we funded an initial study, which is done and it's now being submitted to Nature. But what he and his team did is they did a more thorough analysis than has ever been done, looking at the contribution of agriculture to greenhouse gas emissions, and then breaking that down between plant-based agriculture and animal-based agriculture. And I can't share the results yet because we're in a period called an embargo period, where when you submit a paper, you can't share the results. So I can't share it publicly, but I'll just say that that they're very interesting. And then after this study, we've got a whole series of studies kind of mapped out that will follow. The next study will look at if the world were to go plant-based, exactly how much land would be freed from animal agriculture. Of that land, how much would naturally reforest on its own without human intervention? Then there will be a study after that looking at various management techniques or interventions that could be utilized to regenerate some of the more marginal lands. Because there's a lot of land that, maybe it wouldn't naturally reforest, but with a little nursing and hand-holding could begin to regenerate. So we'll look at that. And then the final study that's planned is to look at some issues relating to rice farming and palm oil production. A lot of people don't realize this, but rice farming is actually quite detrimental to the environment. When we flood vast areas of land to create rice paddies, we essentially create methane factories, and they spews enormous amounts of methane into the atmosphere. But the good news is that if you utilize what's called a dry seeding technique, which is seeding the paddies before flooding, and then if you drain the paddies midway through the season and then refill them, you can reduce those methane emissions by over 90%. So that's really a public policy issue, is recognizing the benefit we can create for the climate, and then having public policies that enable that that kind of production to happen. So we're in the process now of supporting this researcher. We're actually looking to raise additional funding to kind of keep this research plan going. But the net result of all of it, we believe, will be to show an actual solution to climate change that relies on the natural regenerative capacity of the planet instead of some of this crazy, risky, costly geoengineering nonsense that you hear about. When you look at this debate about how do we fix the climate, it's a lot like the debate about how do we fix the human body. The geoengineering is analogous to people who believe we can create health with a drug or a knife, a scalpel, or a beam of radiation. Of course, those of us who believe in nutrition, the approach that we take is that the body has the ability to heal itself, to regenerate itself, to create its own health if you give it what it needs. I think that same idea is true with the planet. We have artificially suppressed the ability of land, vast areas of land, to sequester carbon. We have scarred the surface of our planet to grow animals for food. We've deforested the planet, and we've created deserts, and we've inhibited the planet's ability to heal itself. So we need to get out of the way and let the planet begin to heal itself, just as we do with the body.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. And I hope it happens, because what people really need to understand is if we don't let this planet heal, we won't have a planet. The planet's going to kick us off. Mm-hmm. We're just destroying it. Mother Nature does not like to be destroyed. And eventually she's going to say, see ya, humans.
Yeah. It's very, very serious. But I tend to be an optimist, though, because I think that there are ideas, the kinds of ideas that I just shared, that we really haven't considered very well.
There we go. I got rid of that. Sorry.
Yeah. I think just like when we did the first jumpstart back in Wake Forest, we were shocked by the results. Even my father, who'd studied this for so many years, I think that if we can come together, and of course that's a big if, if we could, at some point, countries could come together to really take a regenerative approach to healing our planet, I think we'd all be shocked by what we could do. And that's what this research is going to quantify, by the way. The research is going to show how much carbon we could draw down from the atmosphere and how much we could reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It's really two sides of the ledger. One is what are we putting up into the atmosphere, and the second is what can we pull down from the atmosphere. And there's great potential, shifting the world to a plant-based diet and changing land use, allowing the land to regenerate.
Exactly. Yes. And Brad and Stacy, I'm not sure if it's Brad or Stacy who's typing, said, when COVID first shut everything down, the planet was healing itself, and it was amazing to see how fast it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, take humans out of the equation, and animals came out of the woodworks, and the sky and the smog went away, and the air was clean, and less cars were on the road, and suddenly there was this awesome thing happening outside. Remove
Yeah,
humans.
yeah, skies were blue. And
Yep.
I think the one thing that scares me a little bit in all the debate, though, Helene, and some people watching may not agree with me, but I'm a big fan of empowering communities and engaging as many people as possible to participate in a solution. And I think that we're going to have to do that with our climate too. If we're going to start to reforest the planet, regenerate land, we're going to have to engage people in local communities to do that. And we're going to have to be able to provide guidance and resources to enable communities to do that. If we're going to wean ourselves off of fossil fuels, we're also going to have to engage as many visionaries and risk takers and entrepreneurs as possible. It's not going to be possible, in my view, to have a distant government that somehow engineers a solution to all of this. This is a big problem. This is a really big problem. And we need as much mind power. We need as many people as possible to engage in the solution. So, I'm a big fan, for example, of the carbon fee and dividend approach, where, we tax fossil fuels to capture those external costs that they're creating, right? So we tax those things, but then pay it back out to the public as a dividend. So folks that don't have a budget to pay for their utility bill, they're getting that money back and then some. If we just did that in combination with switching to a plant-based diet, you would see change on a mass scale. If we could create the economic incentives that would inspire millions of risk takers and entrepreneurs and scientists to begin creating and accelerating their development of technologies to wean us off of fossil fuels, you just see an explosion in human creativity if we did that. And we really need to be thinking that way, in my view, instead of, how can a small group of people in some kind of distant government develop a solution to all of this. It's too big of a problem for any government like that. Now, there is a role for public policy, though. I shouldn't be misunderstood. There is a role for public policy. The carbon fee and dividend approach is a kind of public policy. We also need to invest in like a grid system that enables the development of renewable energy source. So there's a role for government, but what I'm saying is that it's really important that we figure out how to empower communities and large numbers of people to participate in this solution, because if we don't, we're not going to solve it.
You're right. This is all our responsibilities. We've become more of an individualist society, which has come to light this year more than I think any other year in my lifetime. So, and that's over 50 years. So, honestly, just so people understand, it's not like, oh, she's so young. No, we need to work together to save the planet, to save the animals, and to save your health. It's all together. And
yeah.
And you can't just, you can go off on your own, you can do stuff, but what I love about you and your family is that this is about bringing people together to facilitate change. And not just like, oh, the Campbells are off making another movie so they can make money. No, you're doing this so you can pull people together. Everything about PlantPure, since you started it, has been about rallying the troops, helping people understand, educating, growing, building, and creating change in the planet, the animals, and in their health.
Yeah, that's very nice of you to say that, Helene. It has been a tough road because the vision that I started with, it's a broad-based vision. It includes these food products, and including food products that we can take into underserved communities. It includes education, it includes media, it includes this new platform that could be used to connect and inform and empower people in local communities to come together to fix problems. And I've been criticized along the way when I go out there and I try to find the capital to support all of this, because Kim and I long since spent our retirement. At one time, we had enough to go to the beach and relax and live out our rest of our lives, but we've long since spent that. So I had to go out and get our capital. But a lot of people who have money, who look in at what we're trying to do, they say, why don't you just do one thing? And maybe you should focus on a fake meat product. Why don't you just do something like that and make a bunch of money for me? And it's been one of my biggest frustrations is, we've sacrificed a lot to do what we're doing, and that's great because that's how I wanted to live my life. And that's how Kim wants to live as well. But sometimes I look out at the world and I wonder, how come everyone's not thinking this way? Why is the single-minded pursuit of money? Why is that so important to so many people? And sometimes it gets me down, because then you look at people in government, you look at people in industry, and they're making decisions that hurt people. And I don't understand that either. I know people need to make a living, but I would rather live in a teepee and do the right thing than hurt people.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm kind of ranting here, but you kind of touched a nerve, because I think we all should be thinking about what we can do to help fix the problems that we have.
I agree with you 100%. And I understand your frustrations. I understand as you put yourself out there more, people are more likely to try and knock you down and not fully understand why and what you're doing. I understand the whole thing, but you just have to go to bed at night knowing when you put your head on that pillow that you did the right thing that day, and you'll wake up and do it again.
The problem is when you get insomnia and you can't do what you just said. That happens a lot.
Well, but you still, when you finally do rest, at least, or you stay up all night, you still know that you are doing the right thing. And you motivate and inspire people to do it too. And every so often, if it's not often, I would think often enough, you hear from enough people that say, what you're doing matters and you help me change. And even though if it's their health that you help them change, you also, personally that they help the planet and they help the animals as well. So it's an effect that will keep rolling with people pretty much, to be blunt, being dicks in there in between, because you can't get rid of them. But you never know when that seed, because you planted a seed, even when you have those communications with people who are just like, you're out of your mind. You planted a seed, because you don't know when they go to the doctor and they need to have high blood pressure, and the doctor's like, well, you need to make some changes, and they think, oh yeah, I kind of learned this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll revisit that. Maybe I'll actually send a text to Nelson with an apology. You never know. That's what's so cool about when you are trying to facilitate change, is you never know who you're going to touch. You never know who's going to watch this. You never know who's going to pick up, and go, wow, this planet, I didn't realize just how important the things are and how they're impacting the planet. I get the health side of this, but there's a whole other side that is just as important. So Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry I touched a nerve, but I'm glad that I did, because it's important for people to hear that this isn't about being a millionaire. We need to make money. Totally get it. But it's not about being a millionaire. The millionaire part is watching people change their lives and seeing this planet saved.
exactly. I mean, it is nice to be able to have enough that you can sort of be free. There's a certain amount of uh, money that I guess can be helpful and freeing, but it's not nearly as much as people think. And I just oftentimes wonder, if I were Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos, what we could do. That's a kind of level of wealth that's just totally unnecessary, and it needs to be put to good use. But and also when you engage with people in a compassionate way, you actually get more than you give. A lot of people who aren't living who aren't living in a more compassionate and thoughtful way, they just don't understand that what they're missing. It's you get more than you give from other people. So you could maybe argue it's a selfish way to live, right? Because it's not selfish. It's just more fulfilling.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's selfish to want this planet to survive. You have kids. You're gonna have grandkids. I mean, your dad has you and his grandkids, and he wants to have a planet. He knows better than most people what the repercussions are of people's diets.
Yeah, I mean, and there's something very spiritual about this question too. I mean, as we go through life and we go through our environment, sometimes we stop seeing what's in front of us. And this planet, this environment, I'm sitting here right now as I talk to you, I'm looking past my computer to the forest behind our house and the green trees, and it's so miraculous. I mean, this planet is in this environment and our lives, it's so miraculous. And how can we throw that away? How can we let that go? There's a spiritual reason for us to be this way and to live this way. And I haven't fully figured that part out. I don't think any of us have, but there's deeper meaning that we can't really see. But we're here. Our lives are miraculous, and we're supposed to live with compassion. We're supposed to come into this world and make it better. That's why we're here. And I don't know why that's true, but like you can feel the wind blowing against your face. You just know it's true, And we have to fight for this. We have to fight to keep this.
Agree 100%. And Elizabeth said, totally, I'm proof that the both of you helped change lives, mine and my family.
Oh, it's nice.
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. It was, she's one of our vendors, and she and her sister Deanna came into Triangle Veg Fest, not vegan, not Whole Foods plant-based, and secretly in the background talked to vendors and did it all on their own, and then came back and were like, oh yeah, we're doing this now. And we know the Campbells. And it's changed their lives. It's changed their lives for the better.
Yeah, they're both just wonderful human beings.
Yep.
They're part of our pod in Mebane.
Yep.
And just the kindest souls. Really, really good sisters.
Yes. Excellent people. I agree 100%. So Nelson, can you share with people how they can find you and anything everything?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, for people to keep an eye out on opentribe.com. As I said, we're still making a few last-minute adjustments. We'll be launching that soon. So I'd encourage people to go there and maybe go ahead and sign up. And if people have any ideas, if they think they could be supportive in any way of what we're doing, they can always go to PlantPureNation.com and just hit the contact button at the bottom of the page and write an email and direct it to me, and it'll be funneled to me. And I always welcome ideas that people have for how they could be supportive.
Well, I am a message away. I always am open to helping you and being involved. And as long as I don't get off on another tangent, but you know that if there's any way that I can help, I am 100% behind you.
All right. Well, thank you, Helene, and keep up the good work that you're doing. You've been in this space for a while, and you've done a lot of good work as well. So thanks for all you do.
No, thank you. I mean, I really appreciate your joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
All right. You too, Helene.
Okay.
Nice catching up.
Same here. Thank you, Nelson.
All right. Bye.
Bye. So, everyone, thank you so much for watching our talk with Nelson Campbell. That was incredible. I hope it was as good for you as it was for me. I always enjoy spending time with them. Like I said, I've spent time with his dad, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, and his family with Kim, and they are just great people. And if Queenie, if you're still watching, thank you for the compliment of saying that I look amazing. I didn't want to interrupt Nelson to talk about me in that moment, but let's finish this out like I usually do. Please wear a mask over your nose, under your chin. You need to do that. Social distance. Take care of yourselves. North Carolina is going in a positive direction, but other parts of this country are not. And then sadly in Europe, the virus is storming back. So please do what's right by other people. Nothing more important than what we talked about in this talk. Not to be individuals, but to actually think of other people and take care of one another on this planet. That is truly important. And of course, it's an election year, and we need poll workers. If you can work the polls, please do so. So make sure that people can actually vote and early voting or on election day, and people don't have to wait half the day or the whole day to vote. So please do that. And of course, like Virtual Veg Fest and our contests, and oh, Brad and Stacy, let me add this. This is so nice. I was saying the same thing, Helene. Your skin looks beautiful and you just look very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And just so you know, I'll throw something out there for Brad and Stacy. They have a family of goats that need to be rehomed. And they need to go together because they are bonded. And today, out of nowhere, I received a message. It was actually a few days ago. I received a message. It was in my, that other message box on Facebook. And a person offered to pay for the neutering of one of their male goats and donated. So that money is going to go to the vet to neuter the male goat, and a family that's fallen on hard times that does not want to give up their family of goats, but it would be better if they find a new home. So if you know anyone, this family of goats is in Western North Carolina outside of Asheville. If you know anyone who would like to adopt them, please get in touch with us, and I will put you together so that they can go somewhere where they, can live out their lives happy and healthy. And of course, there's Triangle Veg Fest is willing to throw some money at this for whomever decides to adopt them to help offset that. Everyone have a good Thursday. On Sunday, we're back with Jasper Wilkins, and it'll be 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. He's coming to us from England. So I have to go to a meeting now with him. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.